This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon and a very warm welcome to you boys and girls. Behind the bush here is an elephant we're going to show you shortly. A very special warm welcome to Goddard School, Riversbend, College Junior Kindergarten and North London Elementary. Welcome to WildEarth. Welcome to Djuma Private Game Reserve. My name is Steve. I'm joined by BK on camera and we are very excited to have you with us. Let's go see if we can see that elephant. Can you believe he's hiding behind such a small little bush? He's been giving us a run around. Please, if you have questions or comments, please ask your teacher to send them through to us. We'd love to hear from you today. Now, Africa and types of animals. Now, there's no bigger and more amazing type of animal on the African continent than the African elephant. So, he's just over here. There he goes. He's going to go drink, which is going to be quite cool. Let's see if we can get him for you. There he is. You got him, Beaks? Looks like he might head over towards a little puddle to go have a drink. But right now, he's on his own, just eating and eating and eating. Flapping his ears to cool himself down. Isn't he a magnificent specimen? And he's watching us. He knows very well that we're over here. And he's been moving all around trying to keep himself off camera. He's a little bit shy, you see. A little bit shy. He's watching us like a horse. Horses can look back like that. All day long, pretty much, he's eating. Hello, Weston. You want to know how fast an elephant can run? Well, that's actually quite an interesting question, Weston, because they can't actually run. They walk very quickly, though, at about 40-45 kilometers an hour, which is just over 22 miles an hour, which is pretty quick to consider the fastest human on the planet. You only go 38 kilometers an hour, about just under 20 miles. So they're very quick, and they go straight over the bushes, straight through the thickets. Hello, Vivi. Well, hopefully he goes to the water to drink and we'll be able to see. But they suck the water up into their long nose like a straw. And they turn their head up and they spray it back into their mouth like a big fire hose. That's how they do it. It takes a little bit of practice. But once they reach 2, 3, they're actually quite good at doing so. Well, I'm not alone this afternoon. Grant is out and about and he would like to wish you good day.
Always nice to have some company, isn't it, Steve? Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the walk segment of this afternoon's safari. Sitting here with a herd of impalas out in the open area just to start things off. My name is Grant, and today on camera with me we've got Owen, and backing us up we have and Mac over there, just watching our backs for us as we walk through the bush with you this afternoon. So yeah, behind me here, a nice big herd of impalas, also mammals just like the elephant you guys have just been looking at. They're much smaller, of course, and we have a mixed group of them over here. Some males, some females, and lots of young ones. So they were all standing in the shade a moment ago, so it is quite warm out here at the moment. Some of them have decided to go and eat a little bit of grass, judging by how their heads are all down on the ground over there. So find that when you're out on foot or walking through the bush, that animals react slightly different to us. They might see us as a threat and react accordingly. Claire, you wanted to know how you tell the animals apart? Mostly by appearance, and I think it does probably take some time to get used to exactly, to be able to tell exactly which one is which. Especially when it comes to the antelope, I think it gets a little bit tricky. Antelope, impalas are antelope. There's a whole bunch of different species of antelope that we get out here, but each one of them looks quite different, and I think the more you get used to them, the easier it is to tell them apart. These ones that we're looking at, the impalas, are a sort of reddish brown color. The males have horns, the females don't have horns. And you might find with other species of antelope, some of them are grey, some are very, very dark brown with white stripes. Some of them have spots. And often the males have quite differently shaped horns. Ernest, you wanted to know if impalas are related to deer? They are. They're probably something similar to cousins. They're not direct family relatives. They're not the same. There are differences between antelope and deer, but they are part of the same group of animals known as bovidae or bovines. So they have 4-chambered stomachs, just like cows do. However, we don't find any deer in South Africa, only antelope. Mira, a herd of animals can be anything bigger than a pair of animals, I suppose. So anything more than 2. So from 3 up to a couple thousand sometimes. If you head, so that's up in this area. If you head up further north in Africa, going up towards East Africa, you get the great big plains of the Masai Mara and the Serengeti. There you get herds of millions of animals of the same species. But down here, they don't get that big. Not much bigger than a couple thousand. Natalie, you wanted to know what impalas eat? At the moment, those ones there are busy eating grass. Impalas are what we call mixed feeders. So they can eat both grass and leaves, which makes them very successful when it comes to surviving out here. Our winter time, which is sort of from May all the way to October, is our dry season, and there's not very much grass around. And in that sort of a situation, impalas would feed more on leaves than on grass. Some of the trees here keep their leaves throughout the dry season, and that allows them to have food throughout the year. Other animals like buffalo or rhino or hippos might not have the same opportunity because they only eat grass. So when it gets very, very dry out here, you'll find that animals that only eat grass might struggle. Not the case with impalas because there's so many of them. Alright, we're going to continue walking around the edge of this open area. I don't want to chase these impalas away. In the meantime, Steve is still with some elephants. So let's go and have a look.
Well, we've caught up with another group. That other bull was a little bit nervous. He didn't like us following him, so we came around to the other watering hole and we found a little family of elephants here. that have been splashing themselves with water. The one on the left there, Beaks, is doing some dust bathing. Can you see it? The one on the left there. They love to. Sorry about that, everybody. We're still with our elephants, but you're throwing sand on the body. Looks like a lot of fun, doesn't it? They pick it all up with their nose. I can't imagine having so much sand in my nose, though. Especially after drinking. You can imagine sand probably stays on the nose as well. You know, like when you've got wet feet and you walk in the sand. You've got to breathe through that. It can't be very fun. Got an itchy ear. Mina, elephant's favourite food is probably the marula fruit. It's a big tree just over there on the right, BK. That one over there. Yep, that is a marula tree. It makes beautiful, delicious fruits, and the elephants go a little bit crazy for marulas. They go really crazy, in fact. And they're ripen in our summer months, which is just now. Let's have a look at this female. Sorry, Beaks. The herd is about to cross the road. There's a little baby who's very, very wet. You can see how dark the body is. It's from probably swimming. We missed them swimming. I can't believe it. Oh. Elephant swimming is the funnest thing ever. They have lots of fun doing it. So this time of the year, they'll feed on lots and lots of green grasses and little flowers and forbs, herbs. They'll start feeding on some leaves and any fruits that are available. But as the season continues on, they'll start eating more sticks, more bark, and more tree roots. All day, eating. Their jaw muscles must get very, very sore. Carolyn, I'm not sure if they get stuffy noses. It would be very funny for them to blow their nose with their feet, though, wouldn't it? Trying to... They probably do get some form of stuffy nose. There's a very big nose not to get stuffed. Iris, you want to know how tall an elephant is? Well, a big male elephant can get up to 12 feet. This female over here is probably about 7.5, maybe 8 feet. So she's not as big as a male. Males get much bigger. Can get up to 13,000 pounds. Can you imagine? A big male elephant. That's why they like swimming so much. When they're in the water, they float and they're very happy in the water. All of that weight pushed up like a big soccer ball or big rugby ball or football in the water makes them feel light as a feather. Betsy, that baby elephant there looked between 2 and 3 years old. And if you look at this mama here, she's got quite a round belly. Can you see that? Which means she's probably got another calf on the way. We've got almost a 2-year pregnancy period. A very long time, isn't it? So sort of every 3 years or so, elephants will have a new baby. It's almost 2 years to have a baby, or to fall pregnant, and then they take about another 2 years or so to get all the suckling and everything out the way. So every 3 to 4 years, elephant will have another baby. Let's move up a little bit, see if we can get another view of the little one. You're up, Biggs. Hiding behind the bush. Here we go. Turn around. It's very cute, isn't it? Sally, you want to know why do the elephants have patches on the skin? Well, the skin is very tough, and so it's pretty wrinkly as well. I think it's because it's so thick. If it wasn't so thick, it probably all burst out. So the skin is very, very thick to protect them against getting too hot. Also to protect them against all the branches and sticks and thorns that they walk through. And so they're just very wrinkly. They could stretch a little bit more, I suppose, but it is a very interesting pattern, isn't it? But the patches that you saw before, I think, are actually wet patches from where they've been splashing in the water. The water makes their skin go much darker. Okay, well, we're going to move on from elephants shortly. We're trying to track down a leopard this afternoon because that is one of the special animals we find around here. While we do that, let's go see what the bushwalk team is up to next.
Alright, I know the area that Steve is thinking about going into, and I was wanting to try and get there and give him a hand with trying to find some of those leopard tracks. Sometimes when you've got guys walking, it makes finding tracks a little bit easier. We're moving much slower than they are, so we might pick up on those little signs that they miss. But we've had to sort of ping-pong our way between elephant sightings. There's lots of herds of elephants around at the moment, so we don't want to really bump into them while we're walking. It just upsets them more than it being a potential danger to us. We don't want to upset anything while we're walking, so we'll just have to turn around and do a big loop around. Those elephants are behind where Owen is standing, but quite far away, so they didn't see us. And we just turned around and are now heading down to the south. So those impalas that we saw earlier, they like these big open areas that are here off to my right. You'll find that during the evening when it gets dark that they'll come and lie out in the open here. It just makes it more difficult for things like lions and leopards to sneak up on them, because the lions and leopards are active more at night and they have very, very good night vision. So by the impalas standing out in the open, they can see them much easier. So, to stay safe on a safari, Alex, what do people bring with in order to stay safe? Well, if you're visiting from overseas, I would bring protective clothing to protect you from the sun, and mosquito repellent to keep the mosquitoes away. For us, when we go out and walk, I have a stick with me, but that's not going to do much in the way of protection. But Sipho, who's up in the front there, is carrying a rifle with him, and that is purely there just in case something unforeseen happens, something jumps out of the bush and we're way too close and it ends up in a confrontation and we need to defend ourselves. And so that is our last sort of form of defense. If you wanted to look at what we bring with us. Otherwise, always a good idea to have some water and a first aid kit. That also helps keep us safe. It gets very, very hot out here and very dry. So it's a very good idea to keep drinking some water. What was that, eh? Sunscreen. Oh, sunscreen. Either long sleeve shirts, a hat, or lots of sunscreen as well. So I've got my sunscreen on. The sun is very warm. And the more you sweat, the less the sunscreen helps. So Lauren, my safari career as a guide has been quite a long time. There are guys who have been doing this their whole lives. I started when I finished school, and that is now around about 14 years ago. So to be precise, June 2006 is when I started guiding and working in the bush, and I've never really wanted to do anything else. So I've never wanted to live in a big city. Those sorts of places are very busy and you tend to get used to living out here with nature. So I've been doing what I love doing for the last 14 years, which is great. And seen lots of interesting things during that time. Lots of wonderful animals. And been very lucky to work in places like this where we are now, where you don't find a lot of people. So very lucky indeed. I'll just show you over here quickly. I've just been walking past the termite mound. So this is a sort of smallish example of a termite mound here. I'll show you a bigger one later on. But you can see sort of next to me, this one's about the same size as me, crouched down and very, very hard. And this is built by little tiny termites. Millions of them all work together to build a termite mound like this. You can see all the holes inside, and there are lots of different little tunnels in this termite mound, and they are very important for us to have in this environment. Returning nutrients into the soil and keeping everything happy and healthy. So I thought I'd just point that out as I was walking past. Eddie, you asked why you would want to go on safari. Sure. I think for different peoples, many different reasons. Some people like the peace and quiet. They like the fresh air and getting away from busy cities where there's lots of cars and airplanes and pollution. And to come to a place like this where there's clean, fresh air and it's nice and quiet is very enjoyable. Some people are very passionate about animals or photography. So they'll come and have a look at all the animals and see what they can find. Come and take some photographs of them. Other people purely interested in a specific animal, maybe leopards or birds. Many, many different reasons that you would want to come on safari. Maybe start learning a new language. Lots of different cultures. Here in Africa, different tribes of people with different languages. There's lots you can learn when you're traveling. Nicole, the animal to spot. I think out of the big animals, I'm going to go with leopard. Leopards are masters of camouflage. Camouflage means they can hide very well in their surroundings. And when a leopard is trying to hide away, crouch down in the grass or in some leaves, and you will struggle to even see it, even if it's right in front of you. I've had many times where a leopard has disappeared from right under my nose, and I, even being there right in front of it, can't believe that it's gone. So they are masters of disappearing. And that's just because they're very secretive. Other animals are very difficult to spot because there's very few of them left out here. There's one particular animal I've only ever seen it once. Maybe if you go, you can find a photograph of it, and that is called a pangolin. Pangolin is like a scaly anteater, almost like an armadillo that we find in Africa, and I've only ever seen one. So, talking about elusive animals, I think Steve is on the move again, hoping to find a leopard.
I'd like to find you a leopard. Grant had some tracks this morning up in this area. I'm just gonna check around. There's the tracks of a male leopard and a female leopard. That's often how we find them, is by tracking. Sometimes we're lucky and they're just lying in the road like the elephant. Sometimes you have to really work quite hard. Aiden, I don't have any pets. Nope. Very difficult to have pets out here. Dogs and cats are very difficult to have in the bush. If I lived here permanently, on my own farm, maybe. But I don't, unfortunately. So I don't think we're allowed dogs or cats in the Sabi Sands. Maybe. If we were a landowner, we might. But I don't have any pets. Do you have any pets, BK? Nope. No pets. Lots of wild animals though, but none of them are pets. Lily, you want to know how lions hold their babies? Well, when they move them from one place to another, they actually pick them up behind the neck here, like a normal typical cattle do, and carry them off into wherever they're trying to take them. Hang on a second, I just need to talk on the radio quickly. Afternoon attacks, there's some in Dolwoods just north of the dam, and then a bull elephant on Gallagher. No updates at the moment, I'm just scratching out tracks on the firebreak towards Hyena Road. We use the radio to talk to everybody. Okay, got it. Thanks, Tex. Joanna, you want to know what lions eat? Well, lions are strictly meat eaters. They eat lots and lots of meat. So the Impala that you saw there, they like them. They like buffalo and all of the other animals. They'll eat anything they can, really. They'll steal it as well. They don't always make their own. They don't always catch their own food. Sometimes they steal it from other animals, such as hyena and leopard and cheetah and wild dog. And sometimes they eat them too. They're not vegetarians. Strictly meat. Hopefully find you some lions today. I'm really been looking forward to finding some lions, but I haven't been around. The grass is very thick and the bush is very dense. We're coming to another one of our watering holes where, if the tracks of that male leopard did come in from that side, he might be hanging around here. So we're going to be looking under the shade in the cool places. Okay. Well, we're almost at the dam, but before we get there, let's send you over to Grant on the bushwalk, see if he's found anything cool to show you.
So we've just been walking down the road, trying to avoid bumping into those elephants. And we've seen tracks of a herd of buffaloes also crossing over and heading up towards the dam, which is where we saw those other elephants as well. Up ahead of us here, in this big tree, we've got some very big birds' nests. So the birds are not there at the moment, but the bird that builds that nest is called a buffalo weaver. So I'm sure you've all heard of the big five. The big five are elephant, rhino, buffalo, lion, and leopard. And then the small five are smaller animals that are named after the big five. So the buffalo weaver is one. He's named after the buffalo. We get the ant lion, which is a small little insect that lives under the ground. We get a leopard tortoise. Little, sometimes get quite big, but tortoises that we find here, which is a reptile. What have I left out? The elephant shrew, which is kind of looks like a rat almost. And I'm forgetting one. Rhino beetle. So the rhino beetle is the other one. So that is the little five. And then we did see another bird off behind us over there. So let's just have a quick look here and see what bird this is. Looks like a Wahlberg's eagle. So that is a kind of eagle that we find here. Just sitting on top of that tree and hoping to spot some prey from there. So that is a predatory bird who will hunt small mammals, maybe other birds as well. And he'll sit on top of a tree like that and look and see what he can find. So Charlie, you wanted to know what endangered means? Endangered means when an animal's population is getting smaller and smaller. So there's fewer and fewer of those animals left, and when it gets to a certain point, we would refer to those animals as endangered. So to give you an example, compared to maybe 60 or 80 years ago, there used to be lots more elephants. And nowadays that population is very, very small compared to what it used to be. So elephants are regarded as endangered. So are rhinos, very endangered. We've got a wild dog out here called the African wild dog or Cape hunting dog. They are critically endangered, which means that their population is even less. And I think in the whole world, there's probably only about 4,000 or 5,000 wild dogs left, which is not very many at all. So that is what endangered means. And our job is to try and educate people about how to look after these animals and to teach them about them so that everybody gets a little bit more excited about the fact that these wild creatures still live out here, and then help us try and protect them. Lachlan, have I ever seen a snake? I have actually, and not very long ago. So on the way home from our evening safari yesterday, Owen and I were driving back to camp, and I saw a snake crossing over the road right in front of the car. So I slammed on brakes and jumped out the car and had a look, and it was a brown house snake, which is a completely harmless snake that we get out here. One of quite a few different species of snakes that we can find, and that is actually maybe, I think, the second or third snake I've seen this summer. We generally only see them in summer because winter gets a bit too cold. Okay, well, it sounds like Steve has finally got his ducks in a row down at the dam. And let's go and see what he's looking at over there.
We found a little family of goslings, a little Egyptian geese family, and they're going to come one by one around the bank there for you. we've managed to find ourselves some shade because it's very warm. There we go, the little goslings. I just love how well they float. I wish I could float like that. That's actually mum or dad, second from the front. They're vegetarians as well. You've probably seen Egyptian geese. We find them in America now as well. All over Africa. Now normally there's a hippo in this watering hole, but he seems to have gone on vacation. I don't know where he's gone to. Lots of water around at the moment. Lots of watering holes are full with a lot of rain. They're deciding to hide behind the only bush available. Please don't make me move, geese. I'm very hot. I don't want to have to move just to show you again. Here they come. Amina, I think the geese are about 2 months now, if I'm not mistaken. We first found them in, I think it was early January. They're growing quickly. They're looking almost like the adults now, just a bit smaller. And once they're fully like the adults, they'll move off and go find a little pond of their own, and a girlfriend and boyfriend of their own as well. There's still 8 of them here, which is marvelous. We found them initially with 8. They just float so nicely, don't they? Wish I could float like that without using something. Be able to surf really well if you could float like that, eh, BK? Very peaceful watching geese or ducks swimming on the water. Very elegant. Kennedy, you want to know if there's any alligators? We don't have alligators in Africa, we get crocodiles. And there is a big crocodile that's been hanging around the other watering hole we were at before. He's a big fellow, and there could be one in here as well. I haven't seen one. But anywhere within 50 kilometers, 25 miles of crocodile-infested water, you could find a crocodile. So you have to be very careful. Carolyn, they are vegetarians, so they'll feed on grass seeds, they'll feed on algae in the water, they also graze the grass. So that's about it. Specialized in their beaks, they're able to filter the water and take out any algae. Sorry about the branch there. Looks like they all want to come out. If I start now, they're all going to rain again. Mira, I don't know if they can. I don't think they can swim backwards. They can turn very quickly, but then they need to swim backwards. Forwards, always we go. Quite a neat trick, though. Okay, well, let's move on. Let's see if we've got any chance of finding any sign of this leopard. He's given us the slip so far. Don't be scared, Geese. We're going to leave you be. Okay, well, while we try to find some tracks and signs, let's send you back over to Grant and the bushwalk team.
I'm just looking for some seed pods here on these bush willows, but I think this is the wrong tree, the one that I was looking for. And I just wanted to chat to you guys about some of the seed pods and different things that we can find out here. So I'm just going to carry on looking around. The one that I've got in my hand over here is from a marula tree, which is what Steve mentioned earlier, that the elephants like to eat so much. So this little pip here, I've been working on this since we started driving, or since we started walking this afternoon, and I've managed to open it up, and you can see the one sort of cavity in this pip is empty, and the other one has still got the delicious seed inside. So the other one I ate already, and the one that I ate was delicious. It tastes like a pecan nut. So quite oily and delicious. So when an elephant eats this pip will come straight out the other end, undigested. They can't break that up, but they eat them because they like the flesh of the fruit, and that's their favorite part. I've been trying to get the seed out, but it's not budging. So you'll find squirrels will come and chew at this and get the seed out. Mira, you wanted to know which animal is faster, a giraffe or an elephant? I actually don't know. I think they're pretty evenly matched. Both of them would run roughly 50 kilometers an hour, which is about it's probably about 20-25 miles an hour. So quite fast, faster than a human, that's for sure, but not as fast as a cheetah, as they are the fastest animals out here. Sorry, I can't get this pip out, so I'm going to carry on walking. Yeah, I think that's roughly how fast an elephant and a giraffe can run, round about the same. I don't know why these... Oh, there's the seeds there. Maybe Owen can help me point them out. Right in the top of this tree, there's some winged pods there.
Quite hidden. I saw some on that
quite
one
hidden.
there.
Oh, there we go, yeah, those are better ones. So I can't reach those ones, there's none lower down. But that's a different kind of seed pod. So the one that I'm holding in my hand relies on animals like elephants and baboons to spread them about. Those ones you can see up there have got little wings on them, and they rely on the wind to blow them around and spread the seeds from this tree. Those ones you can't eat. They are a little bit poisonous. However, you can make a sort of a tea from the wings of that pod. As long as you break it open and you take the seed out, if you soak those pod wings in some hot water, it'll make a nice tea. So that tree is called a russet bush willow, one of the more common trees here. And very, very pretty when they're full of those seed pods. They're like little decorations. Nice. We're going to carry on down the road here. We've seen some more buffalo tracks. None here at the moment. So we can't show you any tracks right here. But we're going to carry on and see if we can maybe help Steve come up with a sign of those leopards And I think that brings us pretty much towards the end of the school portion of today's safari. So I'd like to thank everybody for joining us, and hopefully see you again one of these days, not too long from now.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Sunset Safari on this wonderful Tuesday afternoon. My name is Steve, joined by BK on camera, and it's lovely to have you with us. Please, if you have any questions or comments, you know how to get a hold of us using the hashtag WildEarth, or further questions on YouTube chat stream or on Twitch. Strap out. I'm certain that it is hot today. It is 32 degrees Celsius, probably closer to about 90 degrees Fahrenheit. There's not a breath of wind in the air. And we are trying to see if we can find the tracks Grant was talking about this morning of a male leopard. So far, I have not found a track. But let's go and have a look and see if we can find something. Most likely Tingana. How is everybody doing on this wonderful day? Good. Seemingly, I don't want to jinx it, but we haven't been bitten by a fly yet. I have sprayed myself though this afternoon, maybe that is the case. I've got welts on my shoulders from flies biting us this morning. Not pleasant. Please don't feel shy to send any questions or comments, everybody. We would love to hear from you. Otherwise, you're just going to hear me drone on and on and on and on. And I don't really feel like droning on today. So give us some discussion points. Let's see what we can bring to the table. And I think I've got enough water and sunscreen today. I've got factor 50, which is pretty decent. And the water is about 1 litre. I drank a fair bit before I came out, so I'm feeling good. Feeling good, feeling strong. It wouldn't have been enough in January, but now, March, a little bit better. Still though, it's been very hot the last 2 days. But Louise, Harvey and Lauren are back this afternoon, so we're very excited to have them back. And Owen and Grant will be going out tomorrow with Megan. It'll be wonderful having all 3 of them here. So this is Gwaripan Road. This is a good area to find Tingana on, but sure, everybody, the ground in these parts is hard. Been driven on as well, and well, the grass is longer than my waist. Okay, well, as you know, it's not me alone out here this afternoon. Grant Pengili is out for his final drive this stint around. Let's go join him.
Good afternoon, everybody. Just whispering for the time being. As we all know, we're on foot this afternoon on a walk. We've just come through a dip here and heard some bushes moving and branches breaking off to the east of us here in the drainage line. And I think it is a herd of elephants that's in there. So just before you came over to us, we were just listening a little bit to try and gather which direction they were and how many there were there. Can't see any of them yet, so we're just going to carry on walking up the road a little bit, give ourselves a bit of a distance, see if we can see anything. So sorry for those who haven't met me before. My name is Grant. On camera with me we've got Owen this afternoon, and watching our backs for us today we've got Sipho and Mike. There's some old elephant dung here on the road behind us. That's definitely not from this herd. Still lots of mud wallows and things that are full of water this time of the year. So they would have no doubt probably had a bit of a splash as they walked by. Hun wanted to know if we've got enough water and sunscreen. We can never have enough of those two things out here. But yes, we do carry some with us. Mike's carrying a bag up front there, and that's got all of our water and first aid kit. And I've basically bathed in sunscreen before we left the camp this afternoon. It's very, very warm out here today, so it's the first thing that we do before heading out. Let's have some go-away birds calling over in front of us there. It's always nice when we're walking, you can hear all the sounds surrounding us and how the different animals react to having us around. So when it comes to birding, Stuck in Bed wants to know what kind of binoculars I would recommend. There's many different brands of binoculars that you can go for. I think when it comes to birding itself, what matters the most is more the magnification on binoculars. So a good 8 or 10 times zoom magnification would be preferable. And then it's also quite important as to how much light they let in. To birding, it's quite important to be able to see all the details on their body, different colors of feathers and small markings that might be able to tell you what kind of species it is. So the better quality the glass is, the more detail you'll be able to see. So I know Bushnell makes some good ones, Vortex makes some good ones, and then obviously you get the sort of more top end ones as well, like Leica or things along those lines, which are all very, very good. So it depends what price range you're in, but more the magnification and also how heavy they are, because you've got to be carrying them around all day. Mine are nice and small so they don't hurt my neck while I'm walking around, and I prefer a smaller pair of binoculars over a larger pair. Alright, I've just seen some fresher tracks over here, and I think this is from that herd of elephants that we just heard. So you can see it, and I'll sort of keep my foot here next to it so you can see how big it is. But that is the track of the elephant, and I'm pretty sure it's the ones that we heard. You can see it's still very fresh, very, very smooth at the back of the track, and then you can see all the wrinkles and things like a footprint. Like a fingerprint that each elephant has as well, which is completely unique. So that's from that herd that we just got audio of down behind us. We're going to carry on up this way. Rosaline, to know how different animals cope with this weather, let's start with elephants because they're nearby. Each animal's got a different sort of technique. Some will stand in the shade, some will go and lie in the water. Elephants will go and enjoy a good mud wallow or a swim. They'll go up to the water and suck the water up into their trunks, throw it into their backs, to keep them cool, and sometimes cover themselves in mud at the same time. And the mud stays wet and it keeps them cool for a longer period of time. Like I said, so we walked out earlier and saw a whole herd of impalas just standing in the shade and sort of keeping activity down to a minimum during this time of the day. All of your cats will do the same thing. They'll go and lie down in the shade and rest so as they don't use too much energy trying to cool down. Hippos will go and lie in the water during the day, and that shields them from the sun and keeps them nice and cool, only coming out at night. So lots of different techniques that animals have all adapted to over the years to kind of deal with this very harsh environment that they live in. All right, we're going to continue around maybe towards Treehouse Dam. I'll send you over to Steve in the meantime, who's still on the hunt for some leopards.
Well, no tracks I saw. Been a few vehicles driving up, so it's a bit warm anyway. A strong feeling. We've got our Wahlberg's pair. Going to do a little bit of a display in the sky, a bit of aerial flying for us. Let's have a see if BK can get them. Here they come. A little bit of a thermal there. Now, Wahlberg's eagles, when they are low altitude like this, trying to get high altitude, you'll often see they fan their tail out, which makes it quite difficult to identify them as a Wahlberg's, because Wahlberg's eagle have got a very ruler-like tail for the most part. But when they go in a circle like this, they're trying to lift themselves up a bit, and so by opening the tail, it allows them to do so. So I've met many people who've confused it before, said, there can't be Wahlbergs, look at the tail. Well, they are able to change the length, and not the length, but the width of their tail. There we go, getting some nice elevation. One of our pairs that's bred nearby. Good job, BK. Okay, well, we're going to carry on. We're coming down Yala Road North, and the big hole in the road has been fixed, which is great. We just drove through it for the first time. Good to know. We've been avoiding this road because you couldn't get through. We'll head on slowly down towards the river, towards where it's a bit cooler. Maybe that's where one of our cats will be. Also want to check our southern boundary for any sign of potential unkuhumas coming in. Kristen, I don't really go on safari. I work in safari, so my favorite time is hard to say. You know, you get spring can be marvelous with the flowers, and early summer can be wonderful with all the baby animals and the greenery and the rain and the rivers flowing. But sort of June, July is nice and cold. The days are very long. A wonderful time of year for walking. Doesn't get too hot. Wonderful thing about it is there's so many different seasons, so many different things happening that you can go to the bush 5, 6, 7 times and it'll be different each time. And it keeps it interesting. This is an interesting time of year because it's so green. It's very hard to find animals, but as it dries up, it becomes a lot easier. This is great for management. You can see where the water damage has been. You can see the plants, the vegetation. You can see the recovery. You can start estimating what sort of fire is going to happen, how much food there's going to be. Really is so many aspects to consider. BK, what about your favorite time so far? Every day? BK is just here every day, so every day. BK is a very specific answer. I'm sure that BK says every day in the bush for him is good. Easy to please. Easy to please. Francis, it's very interesting you say that, because we actually rely on a Norwegian, I think it's Norwegian, satellite or weather station to tell us what's going on, and it's far more accurate than anything else we have around. So they're very accurate. So every now and again we might hear FC say 2% chance of precipitation and then it starts raining. So I'm not sure what forecast sometimes the final control aid is using, but I know James and a few other people use the Norwegian one, which is very, very accurate. But sometimes just doing the googly can be quite off, because the low felt is pretty vast, and we do have different types of weather falling across, but normally when it's hot, it's going to be hot. Okay, quickly before it flies around, Grant seems to have found a duck.
We have all of our ducks in a row this afternoon, Steve. I found a different one for everybody. She actually found us. We were just standing here and she landed in this little pan next to the road. That is a female knob-billed duck. Quite nice to see, and I'm surprised that she is so relaxed. She flew right in here and I thought she would see us and fly out immediately. But she's hung around, which is quite nice for us. So you usually see them in pairs or in small groups. Also grass-eating ducks, similar to the Egyptian goose. So behind her, I don't know if you had them in the frame earlier there, Owen, but the water lily that you can see somewhere in there, they also eat the fruits from the water lilies, mixing it up sometimes with some insects that they find in the water. So I was just trying to listen to that question. I didn't get the whole thing. Do we have any swamps here? Cow pie, do we have any swamps here? In South Africa we've got more wetlands, not quite swamps. If you head slightly further north from where we are, we get to Botswana, where you'll find the Okavango swamps, or the Okavango Delta, which is a massive, massive swamp wetland area in the middle of the Kalahari Desert in Botswana. So yes, I suppose not too far away, although not in the same country as what we are in. So the knob-billed duck, the one that you're looking at, is not a great example of where its name comes from. I'm going to try and walk over a little bit closer to Owen without scaring the duck away, and see if I can show you this photograph over here, which shows the male of the species. Just let me know how the reflection's doing there. And you can see over there, the male has got a very big knob, or otherwise called comb, on the top of his bill, which is a little bit more pronounced during the breeding season.
Turn this way.
Sorry, the reflection's not so great. There she goes. She just flew off out of the pan. Cool, so that just shows you where the name comes from and the difference between the male and the female. The one that we were looking at was that one over there, which is the female. Excellent. Okay, and just before that we were looking up in the sky and we had a Wahlberg's eagle doing some circles around. It is gone. Sorry, I was just about to say that it was gone. Anyways, he was obviously out scanning, looking for some potential food, and hasn't found anything interesting enough. Okay, I think Steve has found some more elephants, which is why we had to change direction earlier. So that would be a better opportunity to go and have a look.
Thanks, Grant. Well, these are on Nyala Road South, so I don't know if it's the same Ellies you maybe bumped into. A nice little breeding herd here, and there's two small herds together. I think she's going into the bushes there. These ones over here are nice in the light, Beaks. I might move up a little bit for you. It's always what you do, everybody. You just have a little look first. Just ascertain whether they're very relaxed or not before you just bumble in. These are wild animals. And every day they could be different. Like the bull we had at the beginning of drop was a little bit sort of shy. There's a little youngster hiding in the shade. I'm sure they'll come and show themselves to us shortly. I'm hoping it's the same herd we spent some time with yesterday morning that made everybody so happy. I received some wonder messages from some viewers saying that they were having a really bad day until they saw those elephants playing with each other, sitting on each other, rolling with each other. It was very funny. Come on, little one. Come say hello to Uncle Steve. Yeah, indeed, Londeko. Mum said don't talk to strangers, but PK and I are familiar faces. Okay, here comes one behind. A little teenager. What you call stuffing your face. Oh, of course, they've gone across behind us now. Back slightly, Beaks. Stuck in bed elephants cheer you up so much. Well, I'm really glad. They cheer me up too. Let's try to get a nice view. Easy to see. This little one over here has found himself a stick. Oh, come on. There we go. When they're that height, the grass is right in their face. They don't need to really use their trunk. Just put it in my mouth. So I know I talk about it all the time, but if you ever do come across a breeding herd of elephant and the animal eating and feeding and the babies are off a little bit from the females, everybody's relaxed. If the females are hiding the youngsters, then something's not really right. I'm not very happy. Here comes Big Mama here, Beaks. And you always watch the biggest female in the herd to see her behavior. She's got a little bit of takeaway food. Little buffalo thorn. That's a buffalo thorn tree, everybody, in her mouth. Oh, I can't imagine what that must feel like on your tongue. And then trying to swallow a buffalo thorn bush. No care at all. It is just a bleeding. Okay, let's move one more time. The female with little baby is going to show itself soon. Sometimes with elephants, you just have to find the right position and be patient. And the right position, a little bit of shade, can be a winner. Dina, they probably would. They're very well adapted to it. The elephants have got very thick skin, and they do cover themselves in mud and also put lots of water on their body. They all drink a lot of water, and their skin is very thick and very tough. And most of the other animals have got fur on their body, so they probably would get quite warm. So they have to have mechanisms of cooling down. As we know, elephants cool down by flapping their ears. Oh, hello, little one. But if you've evolved to be out in this environment, you take all the precautions necessary to keep yourself from overheating. They really are playing hard to get today, aren't they? Into the thickets they go. And we're going to leave them because it's getting a bit dense there. Stuck in bed, I don't know. I don't really know. I mean, I've never found buffalo thorns in an elephant's poo before. I can't imagine how that would go through the gut. Straight thorn, hook thorn. Not ideal. You got it, Beaks? Straight thorn, hook thorn. You find bark and leaves and twigs in elephant dung, but I've never found a set of thorns. Okay, well, it looks like they want to hide from us. Only so much you can do. Feeding through the dense thickets. And going right into Tundi's old den site, so nice area to be in, nice and cool, and there lots of vegetation. And also an interesting place to look for tracks, and that's exactly what Grant is doing.
Looking for tracks seems to be the order of the day, Steve. I don't know if you found any, but we have. A little bit further down the road from where we were looking at that duck, we've come across these leopard tracks. The good thing about these leopard tracks is you'll see, here's the leopard track over here. 1, 2, 3, 4 toes. Looks like a male leopard, big, chunky, round, and he has walked up on top of this elephant track over here. Now, we heard those elephants earlier on, and I'm sure these ellies walked here within the last hour or so, because they were walking straight down the road. Generally, ellies walk down the road fairly quickly, so that means that we're not very far behind this leopard. I said to Owen just now that it's not impossible that this leopard even heard us coming and decided to just walk off the road. So he walked up ahead from there, and then he stepped over here, and his last track is just over there as he turned towards this little game path through here. So Mike and Sipho have just cut through, and we're going to do the road around here just to make sure that he hasn't come back onto the road as well. So as we walk around here and see if we can get an update from them. So Tissa, the grass eaters don't really eat all the grass. They never really finish it off. What generally tends to happen is that as the months dry out going into winter, that all the grass sort of falls flat onto the ground, gets trampled or blown away by the wind. There are a lot of animals that will still continue to eat the grass as it goes into winter, but they definitely don't finish it before it all dries out. So a lot of this that you see here, the elephants have walked up on top of this termite mound. A lot of this grass that you see here will still be around when we go into winter, which is good. Gives the animals a little bit of a backup supply of grass for when things dry out. It looks like the elephants have all been dust bathing here on their way down the road, but no leopard tracks. Melinda, how long does a fresh track remain intact? That depends on a number of different factors. The sort of most influential of those factors is going to be the weather. So if it's very windy, you'll find that the wind will blow the grains of sand over the track, which kind of blurs it, makes it less clear. So wind is a major factor. If it rains, obviously the raindrops will fall up on the top of the track, which would sort of obscure it or show us that the track was there before the rain. What else influences tracks? So animal movement. So if you get a track that was on the ground with a nocturnal animal that had walked on top of it, then that would show us that that track was there from the day before, as the nocturnal animals only come out at night. So there's a lot of different things that will sorry, just trying to think here. Are you just going to check back around that side? Okay, thanks guys. So Sipho and Mike are just going to do a quick loop around back to the road and just try and see. This leopard could very well have heard us coming down the road, just jumped off into the grass and hid away. So they're just going to double back and check again. So I just wanted to show you what a nice fresh track looks like again. So whenever you see very smooth sand like this here where this elephant has walked, so this little patch over here is within, it's sort of just on the back edge of an elephant track. There's another back edge over here, very, very flat and smooth. And you can see sand that the elephant hasn't stood on. It's very, very rough, and sort of how the wind has blown grains of sand all over the place and kind of obscured it. But where the elephant has walked is nice and flat and smooth. As the sort of wind blows the sand, you'll get more and more grains of sand like this, sort of blowing on top of it, and immediately that looks much older until eventually it disappears. Okay, well, it sounds like Steve has found something. I'm just going to quickly chat and plan with the guys here and see what the best option is for us to do. And in the meantime, let's go and look at what Steve has found.
Thanks, Grant. Well, we've managed to track down another herd of elephants in the Mawati. There we go, if you didn't believe us before. Oh, here we go. This mama's not 100% happy with us, can you see? Just watch the behavior. Got a very little one with her, though. Got a very little one with her, so I'm just going to keep quiet. It's okay, mama. So they knew we were here, they heard us, but they weren't quite sure. And when elephants have got really small babies, they can be a little bit more sort of temperamental. And it's very important, though, in a situation like that, to not do anything. If you're going to do anything, just be calm, talk gently. Don't suddenly start your car when that female is walking toward you and panic, because she's going to take that as a negative reaction. And it might end up making a lot of noise, make you panic even more, which will cause her to panic even more. come a few the teenage bulls. This one over here is going to give us a fun little go. Yeah. What is it? You're looking at me down your nose, are you? You haven't even finished eating your breakfast. Come on. You are so big and scary. Melinda, near ungulates, they've got toenails on the front and the back, and I've heard some people with regards to them as hooves. Sorry, they've gone behind, but they've got very strange feet. Elephant, pachyderms have all got very strange feet, so 5 toenails on the front, 4 on the back. Just, I think we can turn around here. Let's try to turn around. Really nice to get elephant behavior like this. If you ever are with students or with guests, they'll just teach people a little bit more about the ins and outs. Okay, they're not that happy. They're going to go up. Can you see the little baby there, Beaks? Another little one. So she's relaxed and feeding. The mama is. So they've got very interesting feet. We call them near ungulates. Ungulates are hooved animals, and they're not a plantigrade like we are. So it's a very different sort of structure of a foot. They are on nails, but they have a massive pad underneath. So it's a very sort of interesting. It's unique, in fact. Suzanne, you say, why the youngster's forehead so angular? This one here, I wonder. It's pretty round, that one, but it's quite hard to actually tell male and female apart when they're quite young. But as the males get older, their heads round off, and the females get more of an angle as they get older. But so I think that's just the way the brain or the way the head works. Melinda, a baby elephant at birth weighs about 110 kilograms, so over 200 pounds at birth. They don't look very big, but they are solid. There's Mum. What is she reacting to? You see the side of her head is quite angular. She'll come out into the open shortly. First, she needs to eat some buffalo thorn. The green-backed Cameroptera calling in the background. Like 2 stones being hit together. There she goes. A little baby right behind. Never very far away from Mum when they're small. Flask, you say, looks like everything is covered in vicious thorns. Well, many of the plants are. Some have got poisons, like tambuti. Some have got thorns to slow down the feeding, and some have got very large leaves full of chemicals, just to prevent insect attack. So it all depends on how the tree grows, how they get their nutrients and water. It means they can afford to lose some leaves. Some plants can't afford to lose leaves at all. So they load themselves with chemicals, and others, well, they don't mind losing a few, but they want to slow the animal down so they don't eat them too quickly or too much. And all these plants out here have evolved with animals. You go to Australia, and you'll see that none of the acacias that they have got thorns. So acacias in Africa have evolved with herbivores. Before there were mammals, before there were mammal herbivores, there were probably no thorns at all on the plants. The plants designed them and developed them because they were getting browse. And you can actually see it. If you took two trees, for example, a very specific acacia of some sort, and you put one in a cage and you left the other one out of the cage, same conditions, same area, the only thing different is one gets eaten by herbivores and the other one doesn't. The one that gets eaten will develop far more thorns than the one that gets left alone. They've proven that. I've seen it. So the thorns are in response to being browsed. And the more they get browsed, the more viciously they adorn themselves with thorns. Very cool, isn't it? Thorns are merely modified leaves. So you can't afford to lose too many leaves, so you just transform some of them into thorns instead. And then hopefully it will protect you against animals, but nothing really works against elephant. They just eat whatever they want. It is a privilege being able to eat whatever you want. You can hear this bleating warbler, can you? Cameroptera, where are you, my friend? Mrs. Eagle, I'm really not sure. It doesn't have to fall from very high like a giraffe's baby, so it probably is a little bit softer, but they are very heavy and solid. So I reckon their bone structure is really quite well developed. They've really been in the womb for 22 months. When you compare that to us, only 9 months in the womb, there's far less time to develop sort of your skull and your development of hard bones, whereas elephants are very solid at birth. And most human babies are born, 5-6 pounds or what? I don't even know. Now, an elephant is 200. And they are tiny, tiny little fellows. Jake, you want to have big bulls harass little babies? Sometimes they can. I'm just going to try and get you this Cameroptera. You can hear him, can't you? Come on. There he is over here, BK. He's just gone into this bush here. He'll come out now. He's just gone in over here. Come on, we're supposed to play. He's moving that little branch there. There he is. There he is. You see him just up there. Come on, my friend. There he is. Where's he gone? Greenbacked Leopard, previously bleating warbler. You probably heard the meh, meh. If you've never seen one before, let me show him to you. Isn't he a funny little fellow? There he goes. When he's excited, his tail is up like that. And there is the wonderful little nest. Andeka's reckoning this is going to be her favorite bird. Well, Andeka, we have got much prettier ones around, but these are very, very cool. Okay, thanks, BK. They love living along these forest margins, these sort of dense riverine areas. Okay, well, let's carry on, shall we? We're going to go see if we can maybe catch up with those spotted, or should I say giant eagle owls from the other day. How does that sound? Is that to everybody's liking? Yes? No? What are we going to do? Okay, I'm not sure where Grant is at the moment, but let's send you back. Over step.
Steve, we are heading down Weaver's Nest towards Treehouse Dam. So we did a little bit of a scratch around in the block there to see if we found any tracks of that leopard. We were also listening to bird calls and hoping that they were shouting at a leopard, but they weren't. At least not as far as we could see. So we're just going to check the dam and see if this leopard hasn't sort of cut this corner and headed down towards the dam as well. Just more as a point of reference than anything else. Just looking at these tracks here on the ground, I'm not sure what we've got. More than likely hyena. Just want to make sure it's not wild dogs. They can always surprise you. Come out of nowhere. I'm pretty sure that if Sipo and Mike had seen wild dog tracks, they would have recognized them and pointed them out for us. So we did have a bushbuck visit us in the camp today, and Steph was saying that whenever those bushbuck come into camp, there's a very good chance that the wild dogs are around. They seem to recognize the camp as a bit of a safe spot to come and hide. So I just had wild dogs on the mind because of that little scenario earlier today. So just going to keep an eye out for their tracks. I think those were hyena tracks. Oh yes, lots of elephant tracks. Oh, sorry, you're right there, man. A little bit of a stone stuck in the road there. Lots of elephant tracks around here as well, heading up to the north. We were hoping that this leopard would have come out somewhere here on this little junction here in front of us, but nothing yet. So Dara, qualifications for guiding. I did mine just after I finished school. I went into some training courses up in the north of Kruger, sort of practical courses or 4 weeks on end, camping in the bush, learning about tracks and trees and plants and birds, and just sort of built on them from there. There is a sort of guiding qualifications framework that we stick to in South Africa, so that's when I did my first practical and theoretical exams. Sorry, I can just hear something running here. Yo. My heart just increased its pace there a little bit. Very often while I'm talking, I'm not really paying enough attention to the sounds around us. It sounded like a hoofed animal running quite fast, yeah. And I immediately stopped talking there just to make sure that the sound wasn't getting louder, which would mean it was running towards us. Oh, there we go. What is that? I see a tail. I think it's a kudu. Oh, it looks like a kudu. Oh, and I don't know if you'll get it. You see that little dark patch there? You can just see its bum. So very important to try and our sayings to try. Moved over to the right, eh? Let's come stand on the edge here. Yeah, I think everyone saw that little bit of movement there, eh? Let's come and stand on the edge of this drainage line here and see. I was just saying, when we walk, it's very, very, very important for us to listen carefully to what's going on around us. Try and walk nice and quietly. Sometimes you just go sliding down the Pretty sure those kudus may have smelt us and just ran off, and I think the one that we saw there just got left behind. Whew. And kudu is not a small animal, but we wouldn't really be too worried about them causing any harm towards us, but footsteps that sound like that, so quite a heavy animal. If it were bigger and heavier, it could have been a buffalo, which is what my conclusion immediately jumped to. Gremlin, in my opinion, the track that's the most difficult to identify, obviously ignoring insect tracks and bird tracks. Be quite difficult to distinguish between the antelope tracks, depending on which sort of group you're looking at, but similar sized antelopes could be quite tricky. You can very easily confuse the porcupine and honey badger tracks. They've got sort of multi-padded feet, both with 5 toes, that you can quite easily confuse sometimes. Alright, while we calm our nerves, I'm going to walk back around and head towards Treehouse Dam, and I'll send you back to Steve in the meantime.
Thanks, Grant. I thought you were at Treehouse Dam already. Anyway, we're about to get to Twin Dams now. No sign of those owls. Bear in mind they are very camouflaged. I love hanging out in big jackalberries like this one on the left. Just going to stop here and have a little scan. They gave us such a wonderful show the other day. Obviously we must be hoping for too much. Expect them to do so again. But we may always be lucky. See how the light is being pushed in here from the reflection off of the dam. Quite interesting. Okay, let's move on, Beaks. Okay, so we're going to check the southern firebreak. Any signs of lions? And I'll check the western side as well. But we'll stop for an Impala. He's starting a little bit early with his territorial demarcation. There's a second guy in front of him. Come on, roll, roll, roll. Are they going to have a little box, BK? Just move forward slightly. They might have a little bit of a box. Oh, there's 3 of them. They get into that stage where they can't get too close to each other. They look at each other, and if they get anywhere near each other, they get ready to headbutt each other quite quickly. So they build up their condition, getting ready to find a little section. See, watch how they will look at each other. Right. They stay close, but there's a bubble around them. They'll never get too close. If they do, they have to fight. Sort of like that aura bubble around them that you see as one moves, the other one moves. At exactly the same distance. They sort of keep distance from each other. Building condition. They tolerate each other so as to be in a group to have more eyes and ears, but they do not like each other. No allo grooming for them this time of year. Their tick loads are going to pick up and increase. Their neck's going to get strong from thrashing the bush like that. They're going to get good condition in a small group. And they might practice their skills against each other. But they are at that stage when see, they don't even like the oxpeckers. That one ran away from the oxpeckers. But they get into that stage when they're going to be physically fit to compete. And whoever starts first often is going to be least successful. It's often the guy who comes along a little bit later on, once the rut is in full swing, and manages to pass on his genes. Samantha, those horns, they are impressive, aren't they? They are impressive. Melinda, they are beautiful animals. They really are. Very, very beautiful colors, as you say. They counter shading. Actually helps them to blend in, especially when they're in a group. And you see how they follow each other, but they never get too close. It's much safer to walk in a single file than it is to walk on your own. Well, like, okay, well, if the lion or leopard's going to kill someone, they're going to kill old Fricky in the front there. So there's a lot of selfishness that's going on with this behavior. They're not doing it for the benefit of the species, they're doing it for their own betterment. You watch on the right there, as he gets a bit closer, he will move. Here they are. Like, what? Have you seen something? And watch how the third one's going to come in that space. Once again, they're very aware of where the other fellow is. Very aware. You know when the ratting season is completely over, when you start seeing these guys allo grooming again. So scratching each other on the face, grooming each other along the neck. This time of year, they cannot get within meters of each other. Very good. Well, let's check our southern boundary here along the fire break. Might as well have a quick little stop over here at the pan. Okay, well, Grant has found something that's not very fast moving. That's because it's a plant.
It might look like a plant, Steve, but in amongst all of these plants here is what caught our eye. Have you got a good shot of it there? Everybody can see all these little fishes. Shame, so it's not a very nice scene, because they are struggling here. I've moved one or two of them across to a deeper puddle, but ultimately that's not going to save them. Saving animals in my blood. You can't always do it properly, but just a good opportunity to have a look at some of these small little fish that you never really get to see. So if you have it, oh, he's going to jump out of my hand. Hey man, sorry buddy, I know this is not very pleasant, but there you can have a quick look at him. He's got these 3 spots along the side of his body. I don't know if we have any, oh. I don't know if we have any fish experts watching. Maybe someone can help us out with a species here. But I know we have very small fish called barbs that we might find in these small ponds. I'm not sure if this is what they are, but they're actually beautifully colourful little fish. Those spots along their side, and a very noticeable spot just at the base of their tail, over there. But I see there's lots of little bird droppings here on this algae. So I'm sure, nothing. Oh, sorry, my knees. Whew. Nothing really goes to waste out here, so even the ones that I don't actually save will become something else's meal somewhere down the line. Top rocks, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, fish eggs are incredible as well. They can lay dormant in the soil for such a long time. So I've got another one here. And then also these things will wash down from, get you into the puddle. Things will wash down these drainage lines from bigger pans or water sources further upstream from here. So yeah, eggs that might have been lying in the soil get washed down and eventually settle in this area, which would have been, I need to stand up, I'll try not to fall in here, would have been a lot more full of water when there was more rain around, and thought that they had a nice safe home. But I think chances of more rain falling to fill this up now are pretty slim, especially in time for all of these little fish to survive. So yeah, things like this do happen, but hopefully while they were still alive in this puddle, they had an opportunity for them to lay eggs while they were still alive. This is their natural habitat. They do naturally occur here. It's kind of part of the circle of life, if you want to call it that, for lack of a better term. I suppose that is pretty accurate. But yeah, so in their adult form, which this could be, I mean, this might be as big as this particular species of fishes does actually get. So in their adult form, they would have laid eggs, fertilized them, and taken the opportunity that they had in this pan to lay eggs. And once it all dries up, those eggs will sit there and wait for the next rains and for the water to arrive, and these things just come to life again. It is incredible. It's hard to believe that an egg can stay alive for that long and then suddenly rejuvenate little pans like this. It's one of the many things out here that are quite hard to believe. I feel like those lions in that marilla tree yesterday. Okay. Whew. There we go. Very cool, hey? So we're just walking through this drainage line after looking at those kudus, and Mike pointed those fishes out to us. Okay, I think we're quite close to where Steve is actually. I think he's on the southern boundary, which is just up ahead of us. We were going to loop around the southern side of this drainage line. In the meantime, I think Steve is driving about again. Let's go and have a look.
We are indeed driving into the sun, looking for some fresh activity along the southern boundary. We checked Zoe's Road this morning, but we didn't go further west than that. And Kuhumas have come in before and hidden in that block on the western side. Messiah, I don't know if the monkeys bother me in the camp. Well, they don't really bother me. They're a nuisance. I try and be very careful with food. Monkeys have no respect for human ladies, though. No respect. Londeka will know that, and so will Megan. I'm quite afraid of men. Whenever I look at one, I give them a funny look. They're all about facial expressions. Are we going to find more elephant this afternoon, I wonder? PK, you reckon? There's a young bull. Hello, young boy. So the monkeys don't give me time. We do have to chase them every now and again because they learn to come and get the food. So, fortunately, that is a human-wildlife conflict issue. And so everybody who comes in and out of this reserve is trained and educated to the point where they do not ever feed or leave food out. Monkeys and baboons will always be a problem. Human-induced problem, of course. Yeah, see, the thing is that they get so cheeky at stealing things that now they'll steal anything. Landeka said today they stole a roll of toilet paper. They left it up the tree. I've seen them grab a packet of firelighters before. Firelighters, if you've ever seen, is like a white brick, basically something soaked in turpentine, and they've grabbed that up the tree now. They try to eat it because they think it's something to eat because it's in a packaging. The problem. It's a problem because they've learned to associate us with food. And even though out here there's an abundance of food at the moment, times are going to get tough. They know exactly when breakfast is served. Yes, they do. As do we. Pavlov's dog, we know exactly when dinner is being served and breakfast, and monkeys learn that. And it's easy to come and steal. They are very smart, yes. Very, very smart. Most animals are smart. When monkeys and baboons, they figure stuff out. They can learn where to associate food. That's why it's important not to ever allow them to learn to associate food from you. I mentioned the story before, but up in northern Kruger we worked quite well with the baboons up there because everything was away. Any food was just hidden. There was no food available. They never learned to associate us with food, even with packaging, fruit, nothing. So there we coexisted very well with a family of baboons that lived in the tree above our camp. But it just takes one person. Oh, poor monkey! Puts down an apple or something. It's a problem, everybody. Please don't ever do that if you come on safari. Don't ever feed an animal. You're essentially signing their death warrant by doing so. Because unfortunately, big reserves value paying clients more than they do the wildlife. And if a client or someone gets injured, obviously it's the animal's fault, isn't it? Must be. Always blame the animal. It's never the person's fault. So I get very upset when I see people feeding animals. It's not a petting zoo. Wild animals can hurt you. They're very physical, very strong. Baboons can bite. Monkeys can bite. Warthogs can hurt you quite badly. And it's instinct for them to want to get the food, of course. Paula, monkeys and baboons, all of their life is about body language and facial expressions, and they can tell the difference between a human male and female, and they fear human males, so they don't really fear human females unless you've got a stick or a catty in your hand. They just see the way your shoulders lie, the way your face looks, and they know, no, you're a girl, I'm not scared of you. There's a confidence that a guy embodies when he's shouting or chasing a monkey. There's a confidence that a girl tends to have, and then as soon as the monkey doesn't budge, quickly loses, and the monkey goes, haha, fooled you. And then I've seen monkeys charge people before, girls. Charge them. Like, you want some of this? The monkey does that to people. They're not scared. If you pick up a stick, though, they learn to move away. It's sad. We should never get to that stage, you know, but these happen in areas where there's lots of people and wildlife interaction. Like we've spoken many times about the issues down in Cape Town with the baboons of the Cape. And the baboons, they break open your houses. They break open your cars, rip the door off, break the window to get at food inside your car. They're only trying to get food. They're not trying to get your wallet or your camera. They want food. And they've learned that if I break that door, I'm going to get food. They've also learned that if they walk up to someone and grab their bag, they're going to get that bag from the person because they're far stronger. As I'm sure Grant can tell, even Muscles Grant won't be able to pull a bag away from a baboon. Ask him. I wonder if he's tried.
So we are just walking down this beautifully lit road into the sunset. It's just nice, the light shining on all the grasses here as well. Steve, I do have a few stories about monkeys not being afraid of women and being more afraid of men. Steve seems to think that having muscles will deter monkeys from stealing your handbag. If you've got muscles, you don't carry a handbag. No, I'm kidding. I have seen monkeys try and steal food from women more easily than with men. And obviously not all the women that we've worked with are scared of monkeys, but the monkeys don't seem to be scared of them either. I had one situation with my fiance where a monkey ran up and grabbed her on her leg just because she was walking and carrying an apple. And I think the monkey thought that it would frighten her enough to cause her to drop the apple. And this generally happens in areas where monkeys encounter humans more frequently and have kind of lost their natural fear of people. And then they take their chances like that. Monkeys are very clever. And they learn that by using scare tactics, they can shock people into dropping their food, and then they get what they want at the end of the day. So you can okay, Owen's just mentioning the ones at our kitchen in the camp that are quite persistent. They know exactly where to find the food when the food bin is open or when the kitchen door is open. Even when there's nobody in the kitchen, they know somehow. They just know. You can hear that pinging sound. We've just arrived at Treehouse Dam. Beard, I can agree that monkeys are horrible with children. They're very so. Also, they'll notice, and I know that when I've been working at certain lodges, monkeys learn who works there and who doesn't, just judging by what people wear. So they know who are the tourists and they know who are the staff of the lodge, and they know that the staff at the lodge are less afraid of them, and we tend to know how to deal with them best or how to chase them away. And the monkeys learn that after a while as well. So they just go for whatever they think is going to be their best opportunity to get a meal. Yeah, look at that water. It's like glass, eh? So this is Treehouse Dam, where we were hoping that leopard was heading. And I think we're a little bit off of the direction where he was moving. I don't see anything here. You got a dragonfly. They are a little bit too fast here. I didn't even see them. Probably laying eggs on the water, as they do. I'm sure those fish that we just saw now would love to be in this dam rather than that little puddle that they were in. So we've had no more tracks of this leopard. I don't know where he went. Into that thick grass for one, but as for a direction, anyone's guess. It's very difficult to see tracks in the grass. Okay, we're going to cross the dam wall here. Darcy Ann wants to know if our bushbuck friend is still in the camp, and the answer is no. We watched her walk right through. She kind of trotted in quite quickly and then stopped and saw us and thought, oh, didn't expect to see them here. And she does know that people are around, so she didn't freak out. Kind of got tired of staring at us and then trotted off out the other side. I'll just see some hyena tracks down here as well. I look down just in front of me here. There's one there. And there's one here. Another one there. Which looks like this hyena might have been getting into position to have a drink in the water here. Hyenas even sometimes will go and lie in the water. That's birds. Eh? Lie in the water in a pan and just cool off. I saw one not so long ago in the Kruger National Park, just lying in a little mud wallow or muddy patch of water, just chilling during the middle of the day when it was. I think this one just stopped by here and had a drink. Got some elephant tracks over here as well, older one. We all know elephants are quite fond of water. And they popped in for a drink and maybe a bit of a mud wallow as well. Alright. Hans, you want to know if I have a favorite plant scent? I do. I actually smelt it today. And it just, the reason it's my favorite is because it reminds me of traveling. It reminds me of very arid areas. I think I can actually, I don't know if I smelt it now, if I'm just thinking about it. It's a plant called the wild sage. And you find that in the Kalahari and up in Botswana. And it's just a smell that brings back fond memories of traveling through those areas. And you do get it here, sort of in very limited patches, but not as much as you do up there. And when you drive through those areas, all you can smell is this fresh sort of wild sage smell. I even used to break off a branch and put it on the dashboard of our Land Rover and used to make this car smell like wild sage. I'll see if I can find some for you guys and show you what it looks like. So, I have to apologize for not being able to help Steve out with finding some further tracks of that leopard that he's still searching for. And let's go see if he's had any luck.
Thanks, Grant. Well, no luck. No lion tracks coming in on the southern boundary. Well, was to be expected. We didn't check it this morning. We were on our way to check it this morning, and then I dropped my phone. Yeah, so we went and spent 20 minutes backtracking myself. It was quite a good exercise, just tracking oneself, moving. Just as well we hadn't been doing any crazy off-road walking. So everybody, just a little heads up to all of you Sebwig lovers out there. Last night I drove past this junction and this dead stump that was over here. I saw a spotted eagle owl that didn't have fully formed ear tufts, and I got within about 3 meters from it with the car, and then I tried to shine my light towards him and he flew away. I have a very strong feeling it was Sebwig. Just saying, just so that you all know that it looked like him. Didn't have the fully formed ear tufts that you see with the normal adults. Was still looking a little bit mottled around the chest area, and he was looking at me with those typical wide eyes of Sebwig. And he was like, "Hello, Steve," and then he flew off silently into the night. Thanks, Beaks. Just broken the internet. Sorry about that, Megan. Those of you who don't know what on earth we're talking about, Sebwig is a spotted eagle owl that was found in October, November, somewhere around there, by Lauren, I think, and Seb. I'm not sure who exactly found him. And he got named Sebwig. And we watched his development from a very small little ball of white feathers to, well, almost to a fully fledged youngster. Nothing? Okay, must have broken the internet that badly. Ooh, dwarf mongoose. You see him, Beaks? He's just on the... No, it's not very good. He's gone into the grass. You can just see his bum. There we go. Hello. There's two of them. Hello, fellas. I'm going to say this while Marcel's not watching. These are the smallest carnivores on the property. There's one closer here, BK, out of the bush. On the left. On the left. On the left. I feel like I'm talking to myself sometimes. And Marcel will always give me a hard time when I say these are the smallest carnivores. He'll say mammalian carnivores. Steve, remember there are lots of other predators around, you know, spiders and insects and the like. There we go. Marcello is just that kind of guy. He'll be back on the 15th, on Sunday. He's taken a bit of time off, and I think he's also going to go ride the Argus, which is this coming weekend. Oh, I don't know, maybe it was last weekend. I don't know. The Argus is a big bike race down in the Cape. Look at these little fellas. Very inquisitive. Come on. Hey?
We are being charged.
We are being charged by a dwarf mongoose, everybody. I'm feeling a little bit worried. And they're going to be able to climb right into the car, BK. Come on, Matsikitor. The Shanghai name for them is Matsikitor, because they make a sound that goes Matsikitor, Matsik. I can't do it, but when you hear them, they make that sound. See if we can have a little listen. Hello, little pup. Look at the one on the back, BK. He's on his back legs. Look at me. I'm a mongoose. I'm a mongoose. Hello. Oopsie. Where you fellas gone? They're so cool. They're so cool. I love it when I find a habituated little group of these guys. You all remember Taylor's little video of those dwarf mongoose when they ran up to the hornbill and played dead? With Taylor laughing in the background. I don't think we've seen anything quite as funny as that ever. Now, if you missed it, I'll give you a little play-by-play replay. And a couple of mongoose just like this. There was a couple of yellow-billed hornbills. I think they were yellow-billed, a bit further up the road. And the mongoose ran right up to the hornbill, looked at it, and then flopped over dead with all four legs in the air. It looked around at everybody, stood up again, and it did it again. It did it, I think, 3 or 4 times. And Taylor just lost it. She was crying. It was hilarious. She couldn't even speak. But it was really quite something to see. And I see it's been viewed and shown all over National Geographic, and it's gone absolutely viral. So if you haven't seen it, I'm sure many of our viewers out there would be able to show you a link. But we'll just go, I think it's called Taylor Mongoose or something like that. I'm sure you'll be able to find mongoose playing dead or something like that. It will definitely show up. And if you fancy a laugh, you're having a bit of a hard afternoon, well, be sure to go watch that, because it will make you cry. Okay, my tickets are, we've got off the roads now. It's a proper jungle for them out here, isn't it? Can you imagine living in this landscape? Abundance of food at the moment, lots and lots of seeds and insects for them. Also very capable of digging. Kibby, the mongooses are all in the same family, very day, and then genets are quite close. They're very different from dogs and cats. They're in their own sort of category. So a civet's actually more closely related to a mongoose than to a cat. And there's reasons for that. I mean, I'm not really sure on exactly all the reasons behind it. Something to do with the foot structure, something to do with the way that they breed. All these things are taken into account. But there's a number of mongoose species here. We've got the dwarf mongoose, we've got the banded, which is not as commonly seen here as elsewhere. I've seen them a couple times, much bigger. The Afrikaans name is always so funny. They call them meishond, which is a mouse dog. Because it's not a mouse, it's not a dog, so they call it a meishond. Afrikaans names for animals sometimes are brilliant. Really, really brilliant. And so we got the white-tailed mongoose, a slender mongoose. We'll probably get a water mongoose around from time to time. So there's quite a lot of mongooses. And they all are carnivorously omnivorous. Okay, well, we're going to make our way up the western side here. Last chance to see if we can find signs of the lions. Meantime, back over the bushwalk team, who are probably slowly making their way home.
So we have cut through the block here into the area where last year we had some active hyena dens. We've walked past this one. You can see how grassy it is, and not as open as it was when the hyenas were very busy with it. Even the 2-track that we used to use to drive in here is completely grown over, which is quite nice to see that the bush recovers so well from our impact. But what we did notice here at this den is that there is some fresh digging there. You can see some loose sand. So the hyenas might be getting ready to use this mound as a den again this year. So let's hope that they do that. Always nice to watch a clan of hyenas raising some youngsters. So what they'll do is they'll come back and they'll sort of renovate the den after all the rains. No doubt there's been some water and sand washing into that burrow. They'll come back, they'll dig it out a little bit, make it more spacious and more comfortable again, and then they'll reuse it when that female is ready to give birth. So let's keep an eye on them over the next few months and see, maybe we'll get lucky. P. Hart, I feel the same as you do. I want those hyenas to come back. Maybe next time I visit they'll be lying around the den here with some little ones bouncing around. Wouldn't that be nice? Anyways, we don't really want to go right up to the burrow, just in case they are wanting to use it. We'll leave our scent around the entrance to the burrow, and that just might spook them. So we're keeping our distance, and we'll move off from here and hopefully see more hyenas around in the months to come. So we're going to walk north from here. Oh, stuck in bed. You've just given me a nice compliment. Thank you. I don't think I know that much about plants. You do have to know a little bit about them, though, to get by. But plants is a subject so massive that it feels as though I know nothing. Someone who's done a lot of practice with plants is good old Steve, doing his medicinal Mondays. He may have even run out of plants to use. I know he did quite a lot of plant talk. Oh, let's see if I found something interesting here. Here's a piece of a jawbone with some teeth that are still in place. Exactly what animal this is from, I don't know. It looks like it's something the size of an Impala or a young kudu. This is quite old. Very, very clean. You can see there's no flesh on it or anything. The bones are being bleached quite pale by the sun. So we know that we've just walked past an old hyena den. So this would have no doubt been brought here by our hyenas during the time that they were living in this area. They'll bring pieces back, crush them up, and feed the cubs. So I believe Steve has a bird, which is ideal. It'll allow us to move through this area. It's quite thick, and try and keep a little bit quieter as we do. Let's go see what bird Steve has got.
Oh, well, of course. The bird is now gone. Here he is, BK, on the right of the tree there. Top on the right there. Yeah, way on the right. There he is. Let me know if you can tell me who this guy is. I know who he is, but I think it might actually be a youngster. I'm going to have a look though, but please let me know your answers if you know who it is. They sound like a squeaky toy. little squeaky toy, a dog playing with a squeaky toy. They're often found in small groups. Cooperative breeders. 24 centimeters in length, up to 70 grams. See the white on the crown. Very characteristic feature. You might even find it in the name. So normally found in small groups, up to 6, 8 animals, preferring very dry, open woodland. 342 Dreams says maybe a type of shrike. Well, you're correct in saying that, but which one is it? Urocephalus anguitamens. Very good. It is indeed a white-crowned shrike, called the southern white-crowned shrike, and very nice to see. It's not easy to confuse it with any other bird. There's a few pied babblers around the country that you could maybe think it is, but they got that very shrike-like beak. They're quite puffy, and their call is a very easy one to hear. I'm going to play it for you very quickly in my hat, and tell me if it doesn't sound like a little squeaky toy you've given your dog to play with. There we go, that's all I'm going to play. I think that would get a bit much if you've got your dog with a squeaky toy like that. He would not stop. They're coming. Oh, off he goes. Going to go find his family, and we're going to move on. Very good. Quite a common bird, near endemic actually to South Africa. That means it's almost exclusively found here, but it does go up into Botswana and probably Zimbabwe as well. So it's a savanna species. There we go. There's 3 of them on the log. 2 of them on the log. You're right there, Beaks. Oh, don't fly away, little bird. There we go. You see him in the light nicely now. Beaks, you got him? Yeah, his friend is back. Oh, hello, pretty. There's 2. Oh, there we go. Hello. Oh, there's a bit of aloe grooming. Let me just scratch your neck, darling. What you got? You got something there? See, that's what made me think that one of them was a juvenile. But cooperative breeders will spend a lot of time together, a lot of time grooming. There's that time away from the roost where birds will start grooming in the evening, ridding themselves of any pests and parasites. You don't want to be doing that close to where you roost. There we go, 3rd one's about to land. Oopsie, hello. Yes, come in for a little bit of love as well. How wonderful. I want to love from both of you. See, the way it's behaving is making me think it's a juvenile. It wants attention from both sides. I can't groom myself, Dad. Help me out here. I'm all ruffled and ready to go. Awesome. Very special to be able to see birds behaving in their natural environments. This is a great shot. And that light is just exquisite. So birds in the early morning, they'll go through a bit of a preening session, loosening up and straightening up the flight feathers. And then before going to bed, they'll do something like this as well. There's another crown shrike calling. Got their attention. And they'll do this before going to bed, eradicate any pests, lice, parasites they might have. And then find themselves all huddled together in a roosting spot for the evening. Almost exclusively invertebrates. In their diet. And Laughing Dove is laughing at us. Good to clean under the armpits. Wannabe, I can't agree with you more. It is beautiful. So nice to see them just out in the sun like that. See, look at that one in the middle. It definitely wants attention, doesn't it? Behaving like one that says, hello, I'm here. Give me some attention. We all like a bit of a head scratch from time to time, don't we, BK? Yeah. It's hard to reach places. Nediki off to the right. Vicky, you reckon they look like a few little bandits there? Suppose they are getting ready to go rob a place, aren't they? All shuffled together. A little Zorro mask on. A very characteristic feature of shrikes out here. Most of them got that mask across the face. Darcy, no, most shrikes are monogamous. You get this one, the southern white-crowned, and the northern white-crowned as well, and then the long-tailed. As far as I know, those are the only ones that are sociable. But then they can also be monogamous within their social grouping. It all depends. But these guys and the long-tailed or magpie shrikes are the only ones I think we get out here that are social. The redback, the whiteback, the greyback, the Souzas, yeah, they all, there they go. So they've done their grooming, got rid of any parasites. Now it's time to go find a suitable place to sleep, leaving the parasites over here for someone else to deal with later. Okay, well, it seems like Grant has also gone and found himself a small carnivore. I wonder who he's found.
Look at who it is. A dwarf mongoose. As we walked past, we heard them chirping. So we just stopped here and kept quiet, and now I think they can hear me talking. But the curiosity has got the better of them now. strange contraption on his back. What on earth? What on earth is staring at us? And with that look of astonishment on their faces. Very, very cute indeed, aren't they, Tandon? So curious as well. Hello, Mrs. Lapwing. Double trouble, for sure. There might even be two youngsters. They do look quite small, even though they are dwarf mongooses. Small for a dwarf mongoose. I love how they bob their heads up and down like that when they're not sure what they're looking at. And Owen's just got aerials sticking up everywhere. I think it's confused them a little bit. Then every now and then they glance to their left, which is where I'm standing. So they're just popping out of that burrow in the termite mound. They do have adorable little noses, don't they, Dossian? You see their red eyes. They look like they would make really... Did you hear that sound? That's their alarm call, and I think I might have just heard a bird flap overhead. Obviously that would be one of their greatest predators. So as soon as they pick up on a bird or something flying overhead, they do that squeak alarm call, and they'll dash for one of those burrows. I think this time of the day, not wandering off too far. I'll look at bedding down for the night inside this termite mound. I'll find old disused chambers within the termite mound and make their home inside there. Scottish, that's an interesting question, whether they're related to the Madagascan fossa. I'm not too familiar with the taxonomy of the fossa, but it could very well be. I know that fossa is quite a strange creature, and although you might think it looks like a dog or a sort of relative of a cat or something, it may very well be more closely related to a mongoose. Oh, he's giving me a good stare down now. I'll pick up for you on that fossa fact. As you can see, when we started looking at them, we had some nice sunshine on them. And that sun is just dipping behind the trees now behind us. I'm going to try and walk off without scaring them too much. Kip, I've never been fortunate enough to see tiny mongoose babies, but I would imagine they would be quite cute indeed. Right there, Owen. I've got a bit of a gully underneath you. Sorry. Ooh. So the rain has washed the roads here a little bit, so we've got to be careful with our ankles. And especially when Owen's busy looking through the camera, might accidentally slip down one of those little ruts. They're right there. Excellent. Very cool to see those little mongooses. Mongoose, mongai, or the one mongoose and the rest of his friends. Always love the discussion about the plural of a mongoose. So I think Steve is still driving about. It's a good time of the day to keep searching. Leopards might be getting active, so let's go and see if he has any luck while he's driving around.
Yes, well, we are on the western side now. We just had another shrike sighting, a redback shrike, and then we had a long-tailed paradise wider, 2 males flying around, showing each other who's got the longer tail. It was very cool, but fortunately it didn't stick around. But, this is on the west now. This is another road I wanted to check to make sure if the lions had or had not come through. It's about time, isn't it? They've got until Saturday, latest Sunday morning, to get here. Otherwise I'm going to be very upset with them. Very upset, and are you going to see me sulk on Sunday if they're not here? Almost time, BK, or was it still too early? Still too early. Just talking about the potential for a silent sunset moment, but we still got about 10-15 minutes until it's at that right sort of height. But I think we should stop there for a moment anyway. The mountain is beautiful. Oh, Jack, you want to know who's my favorite female leopard? Well, Tlalumba's very cool. I've spent a lot of time with Tlalumba, but just I love Shadulu. Shadulu's got something. I think because I've had Shadulu on foot at least 4 times now. Tlalumba I've barely had on foot. She just always runs. That's not what makes her my favorite, but I don't know, I've always enjoyed Shadulu since the first time we found her. But Tlalumba will always have a soft spot in my heart because I've spent pretty much all her life with her, barring the first couple of months. Dina, my favorite memories of Tumba was when he killed that kudu. And then, I know it's quite grim to say it, but then he hoisted she was a pregnant kudu. He managed to get the fetus out of her tummy. She was a big female. And that evening we went back after the drive, Scott, myself, Nikki, and I think Conrad. And 4 hyena emerged and found the kudu, and he sat in this very spindly little tree looking down at them while they devoured that kudu in record time. He stayed up in the tree with his little kudu fetus, which he's quite happy with. Oh, that's beautiful, isn't it? I think I'm going to have a silent moment anyway, everybody, so if you wouldn't mind just taking a seat, putting your feet up, taking in a few deep breaths, just enjoy this panoramic view. Just going to move up a touch. The sun is sinking very quickly. Tell me when, Beaks. And we will continue. Another day, another evening. I'm glad we got that timing right. So much for 15 minutes, 20 minutes. That was imminent. Perfect timing to be in the right spot. That's something you need to practice as a guide, because you always want to provide your guests with a wonderful sundown opportunity. And ideally you'd like to have everybody with a charged drink before the sun sets. HH, you love the sights and sounds of Africa. Well, so do I, sir. So do I. Well, I hope you all enjoyed that, everybody. If you wouldn't be so kind as to send through a one-word tweet, let us know how that made you feel. And our alarm words is honey-coloured sky. It's very pretty, isn't it? The colorations, and every day it's just different. The Dragon's Back Mountains that BK was panning in the beginning, aren't they quite something? Okay, so now that we've gotten past that, Gail, all sorts of things can live up there. It's probably where the Cape vultures and the leopard-faced vultures nest. It will have rock hyraxes. There's leopard, certainly leopard up there. Clip springer and all sorts of other small antelope species. It is open. There are reserves there, and there are some a number of wild animals, but below it is a lot of communities, a lot of farms on the way there, so it's hard to say exactly what would be up there, but it could be almost anything, really. The wildebeest migrations back in the day, before the fences were put up, wildebeest used to go all the way from the Kruger all the way to the bottom the escarpment there where the grass is green, come back again. Some of them might have even gone up. It was a migration of sorts, not as large as the Kenyan Serengeti migration, but an important one nonetheless. And now from here all the way across there, we got the the Kruger to Canyon Biosphere Reserve, which is including the canyon itself, all the way to the Kruger National Park, which is Biosphere Reserve is a sort of reserve that incorporates communities, agriculture, farming, as well as conservation land to try and maximize the benefits that they can bring to the habitats, as well as the people, as well as animals. Not a transfrontier park, but a biosphere. Oh, Laura, well, you did think so. You know, you wonder if some animals will pause and watch the sunset. Well, I think some of them do. But I think a lot of them, they're going, oh no, another night. Ooh. Before we established homes and mastered the art of fire, we used to be terrified of the night. We wouldn't sit and watch the sunset and go, ah, how peaceful. We probably would have thought to ourselves, oh golly gosh, we're going to die. So in the last 700-800 years, people have managed to sustain themselves. So I just heard a Franklin. Go ahead, Londeka. Tifa, you felt relaxed. Well, I'm glad you could feel relaxed. There's a nice silent moment. Pop Rock feels refreshed. That's a good one. That's a good one. Verve, you say serenity. That's a very good word. Serenity. The sounds, the smells. We just wish you guys could all smell as well. Okay, well, no doubt the Bushwalk team is on their way home. Let's send you back over to them and see what they got for you this time.
So this is one of the plants that I was thinking about earlier that I like the smell of, and it's got all of its flowers at the moment. Actually, flowers smell slightly different to what I'm used to, and it's confusing me because I've actually never seen it with flowers, but I think this is the wild sage. It's either that or wild basil. Let me smell this here. That is a strong smell. I can't hand that over through the camera. It's confused me. It looks like wild sage, but smells a lot different. Maybe this time of the year it's got a different smell. But beautiful flowers as well. And that's the sort of flower pods that I was smelling. So these little bits over here. And they've got a very strong smell at the moment. Nice and refreshing. Good. So we've just come back up onto quarantine as the sun is starting to set. Cat's got my tongue in terms of flowers that are highly sought after. Not really in terms of decorations and things. You get the dwarf hibiscus, which is quite a big, pretty flower that grows on Djuma. Not sought after in a way that we can use them, but they do pop up during summer in a massive variety and are nice to look at, if anything else. Some of them don't even really smell like much, so sometimes there's not much use for them at all. But that is one of the nicer ones to see. I think we're going to carry on just up towards this crest here, we were looking for these wildebeest that are usually coming out onto the open patch here during the evening. And we don't see any. We had some impalas here earlier, they all ran off already. But nobody else so far. Yvette, you can smell potato plant in the evenings, especially when you head down towards the drainage lines. Don't know if you've ever smelt it. If anyone out there has ever smelt the potato plant or potato bush, but it does smell like baked potatoes, and it is one of the smells that as soon as you smell it, it just brings you straight back to the bush. So for me, always something that's to smell just makes my mind sort of feel settled. One of those smells that I've never forgotten. It always reminds me of the bush since I was a kid. Oh, it's very quiet out here this evening for some reason. Well, I think the reason that you plant only one or two kinds of grasses on lawns is because you generally want to go for a grass that's got a nice broad soft leaf and not too much of a woody stem. You'll find that some grasses that you get, in particular yellow thatching grass or red thatching grass, very, very tall, very sort of hard woody grasses that are not very pleasant to walk on. So one of the popular grasses that we use here for lawns up in this part of South Africa is a buffalo grass. It's got a nice broad leaf and very hardy in this very hot and dry climate, but still very nice and soft to walk on. So the Kikuyu grass, which is very common in many people's gardens, that comes from Kenya, an area just outside Nairobi called Kikuyu. And that grass grows on the slopes of the mountains up there. Very soft, green, lush grass. That's nice to have on your lawns. I don't know if that's the same grass you get in the rest of the world in people's lawns, but in South Africa that's the most popular one. Hello, the grass that we grow, amongst all the other things that we grow, has definitely affected our ecosystem. So if you're talking about grasses that we grow in our gardens, that is a completely different ecosystem to what it used to be. We may have created an ecosystem that would never have existed in that area previously. I know in the city where I went to school and grew up, Johannesburg, is now, it's one of the biggest man-made forests in the world. Because of all the trees and gardens and things that we've planted there. It used to just be sort of open grassland interspersed with hills. Oh, I think sniffing those flowers has made me want to sneeze. Whew. There's some impalas. Let's see if we can get them. They're all running past through the grass there, the males. So not running from us, but rather chasing each other. Chasing each other this time of the year during the rut. It sounds like Steve has found another elephant for you guys to have a look at. So let's go and see what that elephant is up to.
Well, thanks, Grant. Indeed, it's been an elephant-tastic afternoon, and what are elephants always up to? If not sleeping, swimming, or drinking, they are eating. And this one is no exception. A small breeding herd, it seems, just off sandy patch here. Obviously, as soon as you come to us, he hides behind the Oni bush. He's going to come through. Come on, little one. Come say hello. just going to go. There's a francolin shouting. Sorry everybody, we've had a lot of elephants, but the francolin is making a noise that could be something of the spot variety. There he is in the road. Is that him in the road? Sorry Ellie. What are you shouting at? You're just shouting. It's not him. Oh, do you see him, Beaks? Look at us, he's still in my head. Here's an Natal spurfowl. Just go up a little bit and we'll see if we can see a crested one. Sounds like a crested is shouting. I actually don't know the difference between crested and Natal spurfowl alarm call. It might be a Natal spurfowl shouting there then. It makes sense, this fellow here. Go on to power lines. Power lines is just around the corner. A very common area for the likes of Shadulu and Hukumuri to pop on. Hukumuri, I think, is still mating with Moya, so I doubt we'll be seeing him unless he's brought on to Djuma, or she's led him here. That'll be interesting. I've never met Moya. Discussing this morning, Hukumuri started mating with her 11-year-old leopard. The one who's been accused of killing Shadulu's other cub. Shouting. Power lines is coming up just here. It's going to take us pretty close to there. Getting comms, BK. Or here we go. Just shouted quite badly there. I'm going to go look. There's a francolin alarm calling, properly alarm calling. Hello, Emu, you want to know if it's possible Kalamba could be pregnant? Well, no one's seen her mating that I know of. That doesn't mean she hasn't been mating. I haven't seen her in a while. She's definitely coming into that sort of stage in her life. Okay, so the first francolin, watch out on the right there, the first francolin was making a bit of an alarm call, and the second one did a proper little proper, sorry about that, proper little jumping, running away alarm call, which is often indication of something that startled it. It might just be that time of night, but hey, last minute leopard is a reality, and getting very thick. Very thick. This is an area Shadulu does like to hang out in. Last minute leopard, last minute leopard. Obviously it's like a needle in a haystack. We could be lucky, we could also be not lucky. Copied. popping out shortly on the road. Very long grass. We'd have to be super lucky to find anybody in here, but often when a francolin moves like that, it means the leopard's on the move. So we get back onto the road up here. Maybe we'll find it walking on the road, but while we see if we can maybe get a last minute leopard, let's send you over to Grant, who's going to be saying goodbye, and we do thank him very, very highly from our side for his stint with us around this time.
Yes, the sun has set on another wonderful day in Africa, and it has also set on the short visit that I've had back here with all of you. So it's been a great couple days exploring again. It's been nice to be back during the summer months. Beautiful to see the bush so green and so lush again. And was a good highlight for me to catch up with at least one leopard while I was here. And that first afternoon we did catch a glimpse of Tingana while we were walking back to camp round about this time of the evening. And a beautiful lion sighting yesterday afternoon with the members of that Torchwood Pride climbing the trees and termite mounds and keeping us nicely entertained. It's always nice to just reconnect with the bush for a short while. And I'm definitely going to miss being able to walk around, exploring, finding interesting things to look at, and dodging herds of buffaloes and elephants, which doesn't happen at home. And I'll also miss all of you wonderful people at FC and all of your wonderful questions and all the questions from our viewers as well. Oh, Owen's feeling a bit left out. I've been spending some quality time with Owen, so that's been great. Beautiful colours indeed, aren't they, our Laura Moore? It's nice to be able to take the time to just stare at the sunset and share it with all of our viewers. I know Steve was hoping for his last minute leopard, but I haven't heard anything from where I'm standing. I believe many of our viewers are saying thank you. It's an absolute pleasure, and I feel like I need to say some thanks as well to all of you for being so welcoming, and hopefully see you again in the not too distant future. So bye for now.